Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Digital Edge podcast, where we explore how digital change is shaping our world. I'm your host, Dominik, and today we're tackling a big question. Is digital transformation driving sustainability forward or holding it back, perhaps? Hi, Françoise. You've been working on sustainable innovation and digital ecosystems. I would like to hear your perspective on how tech is impacting not just the planet, but people and economies too. Welcome to the Digital Edge.
Hi, Dominik. Great to see you again. And yes, it's a complex and very timely conversation.
So let's start with the positives. In what ways is digital transformation enabling sustainability?
I think you're right. We hear a lot, digital and AI are going to solve some of the most pressing issues about sustainability. And it's true that those technology, when they are used wisely, they can really help. For example, let's start with AI or IoT, Internet of Things. Obviously, we've seen companies being able to optimize their energy use, reduce emissions, and cut waste in supply chains. For example, we talk about smart grids or more acute monitoring of things so that we reduced energy consumption, we can reduce waste, and there is definitely improvement in terms of sustainability. Another aspect related to digital is obviously remote work. I mean, we've seen with COVID, obviously, that many people can now work from home, at least partially or part-time. And this is obviously reducing traffic, driving in the car to the office, travel. We have reduced air travel for many meetings. So, I mean, this is obviously impacting the carbon footprint. We also have seen more sophisticated models about urban planning, especially related to traffic. I remember years ago, IBM building this huge data model to see how to optimize traffic, just starting by optimizing traffic lights to have a much more smooth flow of vehicles. So, and in a broader scope, we are talking about urban planning. And of course, with the use of internet, we've seen a lot of new business models that are more around circular economy or sharing models. If you think about Airbnb, I mean, it's so many rooms that we didn't need to build because they were already there. Or if you think about ride sharing, car sharing, all those new models that have been enabled by internet have definitely had a positive impact, or at least less consumption of some energies. So I mean, I've just given a few examples, but there are definitely things that have been enabled by digital and AI. Anything from your side, Dominik, also that you've seen as a positive for sustainability?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's almost like a double-edged sword, right? On the one hand, I think we see a lot of opportunities that are being created with digital transformation, but there's also I think some examples which maybe have a little bit of a less of a positive impact. And I
Do
think
you
the
have
good
still
news is,
examples on the positive side before we move
um,
to the
yeah,
negative?
I think the opportunity to eliminate paper, a very basic, right? I've worked in a lot of projects that had the need to automate processes, minimize paper as the basic resource that we have, right? That it's just not necessary anymore because we can store information, we can retrieve it again, we can communicate it with other people, right? Through networks that we obviously have available today. And so I think that's, again, very basic. We don't think about it anymore these days, but a lot of companies are still using paper and they're still working on eliminating a lot of their paper use.
Yeah, I think that's a great example of reducing a resource impact. And I was thinking also on, the social side of sustainability. I think that through digital, we've seen better access to education, better access to healthcare, for example, for some
Mhm.
of the underserved population. I mean, just talking about telemedicine, where people who don't have access to a doctor close by, they can have a medical consultation remotely. So we've seen a lot of these models that are enable and overall improving the social and the welfare of people. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of positive.
Yes, absolutely. And that's that example that you just brought up of having a medical consultation. My wife actually called her doctor yesterday to check out the skin issue that came about from a medicine. And she was able to do that without having to travel to the doctor's office over by uploading a picture, having a video consultation, and addressing what needs to be addressed. So, yes, absolutely. Daily, perfect opportunities to reduce impact on the planet. So besides these many opportunities that digital transformation brings in a positive way from a sustainability standpoint, um, is there another side to the story perhaps as well?
Yes, and unfortunately, there is also the uncomfortable truth that digital transformation comes with a
Mhm.
very heavy footprint. And when I say footprint, I'm talking climate, but also social and human side of things. I mean, you just starting by the example, yes, on one side, we have, reduced paper use. But on the other side, we have created massive amounts of data that need vast data centers, and we know that it's a huge consumption of electricity and water, and this is a very heavy burden for the environment. And as we know, this is even increased now with AI. We talk a lot about the consumption of AI models, and this is having a very important impact in terms of carbon footprint. Another example that I have in mind is if we look, over the past 20 years, how many iPhones or smartphones have you had? This consumption of the latest device where, we always buy the latest model, and there is maybe overconsumption that has been created on the device side, but also on the behavior. We talk a lot about fast fashion and e-commerce and accessibility to all these goods that very often we don't need. And this has created
Mhm.
behavior of consuming too much. And this is definitely having an impact on the planet and on the resources. And maybe just another example in a very different field that I like to mention is also on the human side. We talk about the workers of the cliques, all these people in probably underdeveloped countries that are hired to filter and monitor social media. And those people who spend hours every day looking at sometimes very violent, sometimes pornographic content, and they are exposed to all the bad things about social media. I mean, we have created also jobs that are, maybe not uh, working hard in the field of agriculture, but on the social aspect, they are also very, very difficult and hardship that we have created. I mean, just saying a few, but probably you have others in mind as well.
Yeah, as you were talking about that, I was just thinking about Amazon and ordering things from Amazon, right? You can say like, hey, that's great. I don't need to go to the store to buy something if I need it. There's economy of scale by having a truck go around the neighborhood and deliver items, right? Which then saves fuel, for example. But on the flip side, right, it's so easy to buy something. I think we all buy things that are not truly necessary and then may or may not even use them, perhaps, right? And I think in a large scale that really adds up, and I mean I can think of the impact that this is going to
Yeah.
have. But a lot of that is hidden from view, right? We don't typically think about that. The emissions, labor impacts, exploitation in supply chains.
Yeah, and I think there is a big transparency problem. That I don't think that users or consumers are really aware about the impact of their activities. You just mentioned Amazon or e-commerce. I heard that 30% of the goods that are returned are just thrown as trash. They are not
Mhm.
recycled. They are not put again in the selling or in the shopping share shopping. It's really
That's
wasted,
huge.
and people
Yeah.
are not aware. Some people, they buy 5 pairs of shoes and they only keep one, but they don't realize that two of those are going to be just put in the trash. And I think that's really the issue. So it's really about not being aware and not having the whole information or the full picture of the physical, human, and economic impact of what is created by digital. So I think, yeah, that's a very big issue, and the sustainability is not only about efficiency, but it's also about the whole thinking about the whole system. And I think that's where we are probably failing.
I mean, so putting it all together, right? Talking about, there's some really good aspects of digital transformation now. It helps sustainability opportunities that we have. And then these side effects, again, unfortunately, not very transparent. Bottom line, do you think digital transformation is helping us or hurting sustainability at this point?
So personally, I think I'm a bit of a pessimist in that field, but I think that digital transformation is more deepening the problem than solving it, because most digital innovation, it's about speed, it's about growth, it's about scale, it's about volumes, and not so much about equity or regeneration. So I think we really need to shift the intention. And tech should be a tool or a mean to sustainability, but not just a tool to make more profit at any cost or optimize what we have. So I mean, that's
Yeah.
my view. I feel at the moment it's more a negative than a positive impact.
Yeah, I mean, sure, it does look like when you look at how investors pick companies, right? Most of them look for maximum profit, not for an environmental balance, for example. So, what does sustainable digital transformation actually look like, do you think?
Yeah, I think if we think about sustainable digital transformation, it means we have to think about sustainability in the design, in the governance, and in the purpose of what we are building. So probably, and sorry for taking my French hat now, but we probably need more regulation and standards that take into account the environmental and social impacts of these activities. I think the other aspect is really to think about the life cycle of everything, of the products, of the solution from what we source and the end of life recycling. And on the social aspect, I think it's also very important to think about what we call digital equity. It means access to those platforms, but also on, the jobs we are creating and making sure that they are, fairly remunerated and they have a good condition for the workers.
Yeah, very important points. And again, I think it's a much more complex topics than installing software and reducing paper in a business. There's much more to it to understand an organizational footprint. I believe. So thank you so much for bringing clarity to a messy topic. It seems like.
Yeah, and I hope that next time we talk about it, we have better news to bring forward. Thank you,
Yes,
Dominik.
hopefully so. I mean, it's also a little bit on us to help organizations perhaps take a look at that angle as well. I think if maybe there's better awareness of the impact, better decisions by leaders all around the world can also be made.
Thank you.
All right. That's it for this episode of The Digital Edge. If today's conversation got you thinking, share it with a colleague and join us next time as we continue to explore the future of digital leadership. Until then, stay curious, stay critical, and stay digital. See you next time.
Bye.